Hello, and welcome back to another Patriotic Master podcast episode. I'm your host, Patriotic Master. So, we're approaching the September 10th primaries in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Delaware. These states are the last three, besides Louisiana, whose primary will be on November 5th, the day after the the general election. Now, with Rhode Island, we are at a crossroads because this state is not won very heavily by the Democrats on the state U.S. Senate level or the House of Representatives level. But I will tell you this year's Senate election, we have two of the most cowardly Republicans on the ballot. You have Raymond McKay, and former IT tech, something like that. And then you have Patricia Morgan, a fake pro-lifer, and a Republican state representative on the ballot for the upcoming primary. So here's the funny part, is these two had a debate 2 weeks ago. And the surprising part was, during that debate, they actually brought up my endorsement for McKay. But here's the twist to all this, is they tried to make it out to seem that that McKay was anti-abortifacients. Because I said I wasn't endorsing Patricia Morgan because she was pro-abortifacients. But nowhere in my statement of my endorsement did I say he was anti-abortifacient. And surprisingly enough, he clarified that on the debate stage. But I mean, the fact that he tries to say that he is a father for, and yet he's for abortifacients, that's hypocritical. That is hypocritical of him. And he needs to know that this basically makes him a beta cuck. Because he is too afraid to stand up for what is right instead of standing up for what's popular. And that's the position Morgan put him in, is to stand up for what's popular or to stand up for what's right. So, surprisingly enough, this will be a Senate race I will not endorse it. Just like Michigan, Wisconsin, and I think those are the only three I probably haven't endorsed for the general election yet, this entire election cycle. Because I endorsed in California. Oh yeah, in Arizona. I'm not endorsing in Arizona because Carrie Lake is a fraud and she's going to lose us that Senate race. This will be the fourth Senate race, fourth election cycle where we have lost a Senate race in Arizona. After two election cycles where we could have held those seats, and instead we lost them. And then we failed to take them back in 22, with Masters falling to Mark Kelly. And now we're going to have Ruben Galgo take down Carrie Lake in an open seat after the retirement of Kristen Sinema, who beat Martha McSally in 18 to take that seat. That was originally held by Jeff Flake. But with this Rhode Island race, it's just crazy. It's crazy that in the first place, they brought up my endorsement because she tried to say I was a national blogger. I'm not even that popular amongst podcasting. I barely do many podcast episodes because I don't have much time to do them. Because unlike a lot of people, I actually got a job. And I only do this in my spare time. So, the fact that she had to have the moderators at the debate bring my endorsement up was just sad in itself. And as far as endorsements go, it was a previous endorsement of him. I had endorsed him. But then I pulled my endorsement, and I've officially announcing that I'm not endorsing him anymore. because I will not endorse a man who is too afraid to stand up for what's right, even if he has a lot of Rhode Island Republicans against him from the very beginning. And that's the thing. To be supportive of God's law and standing up for the right to life, even before conception, when it comes to the egg and the sperm coming together to procreate that child in the womb. That's what abortifacients do. They mess with the process and basically kill that child before it can actually be procreated. But, and let's say this, but my mom actually gave me a good explanation about how abortifacients actually work. And an abortifacient is no different than an abortion. It's just as morally evil. It's just as intrinsically evil. And these people don't care. They don't care if they kill it in the womb, out of the womb, or before it's able to completely finish the procreation process to become a baby in the womb. These people just want to stop the reproduction of the American ways of the family. They basically want to try to stop people from reproducing. And basically what that'll do is bring an end to America as we know it. It's just sad that these people have to be so supportive of this crap. And yet you wonder why they would be so supportive of this crap. That's how ridiculous these people really are. Is they would disrespect God in such a way to basically rip the very valuable gift he gives human beings away from him and say, oh, we know better than you, God. This is the part that's disgusting about humanity, is we have fallen so far, and yet we want to act like we know more than God. We do not. We have fallen so much. And when we get to the abortion issue, if we look at the number of abortions since Roe v. Wade, that number keeps climbing. And it's because the Democrats have made it so that this number keeps climbing. Because in the Democrat states, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Washington, California, Oregon, New Mexico, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Montana, New York, New Jersey, Vermont, Maine, and Connecticut, and Hawaii. These states have protected the murder of an unborn child in the womb because they love that tax dollars going to abortion clinics. Now, I call abortion clinics Nazi concentration camps because these doctors are just as intrinsically evil as the Nazis because they know what they're doing is wrong. They full well have the knowledge that they are doing something wrong, and they don't care. They are doing it because they're getting paid to do it, and they are using that money to make themselves rich. They're making themselves rich and wealthy. And yet, Planned Parenthood is not paying their fair share of taxes. This is why they are banking in millions off of the American people. Because they're that pathetic. They're that pathetic because the Democrats have now taken what the Nazis did in World War II, the Holocaust, and now they've committed to their own Holocaust, known as the genocide against the unborn. Because we've actually taken more lives of the unborn children that Hitler killed living people during World War II. That's right, look at the numbers. We have taken the lives of 66 to 68 million unborn children. I just cannot comprehend the fact that these people think that it's funny to literally say, oh yeah, I had an abortion and it was great. Well, let me say this. These women are going to suffer in the long run. They are going to suffer in the long run because they're messing with their mental health. Their physical health and their mental health are going to be fucked up for the rest of their lives because of those abortions. Because these people don't understand what these abortion doctors do to their freaking bodies when they commit these abortions. They don't understand that. And that is what is so disgusting. Is they think it's funny. But here's the crazy part. Is they're not going to be laughing when they go before the Lord to be judged. Because you know what? Those unborn children are going to be right next to God when they go to be judged by God. And let me say this, God is not going to care about all the good you people have done in the world. He's going to look at the evils you've done. Now, if you're perfect and you've never done evil, good for you. God will look highly upon you and will commend you for the good you've done. But if you've done more evil than good in the world, He is going to judge you for that. And then He will punish you, and you will not be allowed to enter the gates of heaven. And that's the problem in this world, is people think they know better than God and think they'll just automatically go right to heaven. Because here's the thing, you don't just go straight to heaven. You go to God for judgment. If you have venial sins on your soul, minor sins that aren't that bad, you'll go to purgatory, you'll get those sins cleansed from you, and then you'll go to heaven. But if you have mortal sins that are most outrageous and disgusting to God, that God finds those incomprehensible, He will not let you pass through the gates of heaven. Instead, He will send you to the gates of hell, where you will burn for all of eternity. And this is the crazy part, is Democrats and Republicans alike don't understand this. Is that no party is intrinsically good, completely good, or completely evil. They both have their flaws, and they both need to be cleansed of these evils. Because when something is intrinsically evil, and God despises it, He wants us to stop the evil from spreading. But the problem is people are corrupt, and they don't care. Anybody who flashes millions of dollars in their face can be bought. All these politicians that take all this blood money from Planned Parenthood, George Soros, and the other communist organizations across the globe are not trustworthy. They are bought and paid for. So many, like, this kind of frustrates me. I have done endorsements after endorsements after endorsements of amazing patriots across our country. But surprisingly enough, it saddens me that people cannot wake up and stop re-electing these rhinos, or stop choosing rhinos over conservatives who actually want to go to D.C. to fight for you. That's what astounds me. But the fact is that with some of these politicians, they are term limited, so we have a chance to make a change of leadership. But some of these politicians, they just constantly win re-election because they're running against numerous people. If people would just unite behind one solid candidate, we could oust these terrible, terrible rhinos. But the problem is that the Democrats bolster the rhinos. Well, no, I'm wrong there. They don't bolster the rhinos. I mean, if we look at 2022, Trump candidates got bolstered. You know why? Because they were easy to beat. This is why John Gibbs lost the 3rd district for us in 2022 to Hillary Scholten. This is why Maria Gluesenkamp beat Joe Kemp. Not Kemp, Joe Kent. The frickin' that military veteran, the Green Beret, in Washington's third. That's why Gluesenkamp beat him, because he was easily beatable. She wouldn't have been able to beat Herrera Buehler had Buehler won re-election, had won the primary. But the Trumpers bolstered all that hate that he had because Buehler voted to impeach him. That's why she lost re-election. Newhouse is the only Republican impeachment Republican that still survives. And yet, surprisingly, Newhouse got behind Trump and endorsed him. And yet, for the general election, and this is the crazy part in some of these states, how these state elections are run. You got Alaska, you got Washington, California, Oregon. They're all what I would call jungle primary states. They can call them ranked choice voting or whatever you want to fucking call them, but I call them jungle primary states because their primaries are fucked up. They're not like New York or New Jersey where you had the Republican and the Democrat primary. If you had a Republican and Democrat primary, you would actually see a lot of good candidates come out of those races. But the problem is, you got these candidates all on one ballot, like in California. If you look at California, you got a crap load of Democrats going up against fellow Democrats for House seats, instead of a Democrat against a Republican. And you know why? Because those are Democrat districts. That's why the Democrats in California, Oregon, and Washington have protected the ranked choice voting. Because that benefits them. Because those districts are solid blue districts. In some districts, it's Republicans going up against Republicans, like in Kevin McCarthy's district in California. You had Vincent Fong going up against another Republican, a guy who I endorsed. And the guy who I endorsed lost the primary to finish out Kevin McCarthy's term. But we still have the rest of the primary of the we have the general election to start the new term for the rest of that district, where it's still two Republicans running for Kevin McCarthy's seat for 24 to 26. So this is the crazy part, is that these different states, like California, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska, can still have that ranked choice voting and think that that's fair. It's like, it's not fair to the American people. You need to make it fair to the American people. The ranked choice voting is trash. And just talking about primaries, let's look at Utah's. Sorry, not Nevada's, Utah's. Utah's primary. In a sense, had I known that people were that disfavorable of Spencer Cox, I wouldn't have talked about saying that the convention should get thrown out. In a sense, with Utah, I think just for the sake of the people, they need to throw out the primary and go with the convention. Because look at the convention. The convention showed that people were so dissatisfied with Spencer Cox's left-leaning leadership. And yet, Cox and Henderson were unwilling to let people see the signatures of the people that got him onto the primary. Because he didn't qualify with the convention. But yet, because Deidre Henderson leads the State Department as lieutenant governor, she made it so that they could get on the ballot, and then they won. But they wouldn't let anybody see the primary ballots to make sure that everyone was actually legit, instead of trying to cover their tracks, which is what he's been doing. And so my endorsed candidate for governor, Phil Lyman, and his lieutenant governor pick, Natalie Clausen, are actually doing a write-in campaign. And I'm telling you this, if these two actually do get on the ballot in November for write-in candidate, I actually do think that they could force a runoff, that they would force a draw between them and Cox. Because let's be honest here, King definitely doesn't have a chance because he's a Democrat. Democrats haven't won in Utah for quite some time. Utah has been red for quite some time. So this would actually be an interesting race. Had it been Phil Lyman and Natalie Clausen winning the primary, they would have gone on and swept the general. against King. And it would have been amazing. But I'm going to say this. A lot of these primaries over the years, both 22, 24, 2020, and 2018, I've seen a lot of good patriots lose these primaries to rhinos. And let's be honest, the rhinos haven't fared much better than conservatives. Although a lot of rhinos do win re-election. I mean, Trump likes to talk about a whole big game about, drain the swamp. But yeah, look who he endorsed in 22 and 24. Just this past election cycle, during the primaries. Look at all his endorsements during the primaries. He endorsed Hovde in Wisconsin, a banking executive, instead of a conservative Republican leader of a campus college Republicans group, Rajana Raviden, I'm sorry if I'm getting her name wrong, guys, but this lady was an amazing conservative, solid voting record. She was solid on the issues. Hovde can't be trusted, and yet Republicans unite behind Trump, behind Hovde, instead of my endorsed candidate, who was solid on the issues. And not to mention in Mississippi, he endorsed Roger Wicker. Wicker's a rhino. He is a McConnell puppet. He's a McConnell muppet. Him and McConnell are muppets and can't be trusted. Luckily, we're getting rid of McConnell as the speaker, the Republican leader. Thank goodness. But this all comes down to, can we get a solid Republican to lead the party if we somehow, by pure chance, do take back the Senate? Because I'm going to say this, I do solidly think we are going to take back Ohio and Montana Senate seats. Because both those two candidates are solid on the issues. They're both solid, they're both good. I totally think they will make the Democrats waste money in those states. And then Democrats are going to lose the state of West Virginia to incumbent Republican governor, former Democrat turned Republican governor, Jim Justice. We are going to win West Virginia's. That is a hands-down victory for us right there, because that one is solidly going to be Republican. Then we got Jim Banks, a former representative from the U.S. House of Representatives, who is running for the incumbent Republican senator's seat, because the incumbent Republican ran for governor. I can't even remember his name now. But, yeah, Republican who was the senator from Indiana that resigned from his seat, decided not to run for re-election, instead ran for governor. He was not as solid as everyone thought he was going to be. He was kind of tipsy on the issues. He was solid on a few, but not all the issues. So, when we go out to vote this election cycle, we need to be careful about who we vote for. And that's the thing, with a lot of these primaries, these conservative candidates were getting beat left and right by rhinos. I had quite a few candidates who actually won in Florida, and I'm actually proud of them. They took the fight to the rhinos, and they won. And even some of the districts, I co-endorsed multiple candidates, and at least one of my candidates won in these primaries, and that's good. But in some, like the rhino districts, like, trying to think here off the top of my head, Rutherford's district. You had Mara Macy, a conservative Republican, running against Rutherford to replace him. He won primary hands down. Then you had a few Democrat districts where rhinos beat out my conservative candidates. Like my endorsed candidate, Darlene Swaffer, Swaffer. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I apologize to her if I messed up her name. But, she was a solid candidate. For a while, I was actually co-endorsing her with Carla Spalding. But then she sent me a link, which showed that Carla Spalding basically flipped from another district took the money she fundraised from the 25th district when she moved over to the 23rd, and it was like, that's terrible. Like, why? Like, that is sad that you are fundraising in a separate district, and instead of returning all that fundraised money, that money you raised in campaign funds, instead of returning that to the people who donate to your campaign, you take that over to another district and waste it all. Like, are you kidding me? But that's beyond the fact. And then this election cycle, we've suffered some major setbacks when we had Mark Lamb lose the Senate primary in Arizona because Trump was too blind to see that Kari Lake is unelectable in Arizona. Then you also had my endorsed candidate, Alex Mooney, who lost the Senate primary in West Virginia to incumbent Governor Jim Justice. Mooney was a lot more solid on the issues. I'm going to say that right now. He was more solid. But obviously, Justice was more favorable because he's been an election juggernaut in that state. He's always won by over 60 percentage points. And that's actually crazy. That's how big of an election victory he's had in the past 2 election cycles as governor. And it's crazy. And then we had my endorsed candidate, Justin Amash. Justin Amash is a solid candidate. And I am saddened by the fact that Trump endorsed Rhino Mike Rogers, who literally voted to allow the government to spy on the American people. Yet Trump endorses him. Like, Justin Amash is more solid on the issues. Like, why would you get behind Rhino Mike Rogers? It's like, at this point, I think Wisconsin and Michigan are not going to flip. Now, if they do, I'll be shocked, because that'll be surprising. I will be so shocked if we flip Michigan and Wisconsin by some pure chance. I mean, if people really hate the Democrats that much that they flip the Democrat seats, Tammy Baldwin in freaking Wisconsin and former Senator Debbie Stabenow's seat to Mike Rogers and Tammy Baldwin's seat to Eric Hovde in the general election, I will be so shocked. Like, literally, I will be astounded, people, because people talk about how they hate the Democrats so much, and yet the Democrats have somehow just constantly managed to bring out the anti-Trump vote. Although now and now, more and more every day, with all this Palestinian crap, with these Palestinians rioting on college campuses, harassing Jewish Americans, like, it's astounding that the Democrats aren't losing much more heavily than they originally were. I mean, in 22, we actually surprisingly flipped the House in our favor, but we actually lost one of those seats in 23 when McCarthy got booted by Matt Gaetz as Speaker of the House. Matt Gaetz got him voted out with help of 7 other young Republicans and all Democrats. And they voted to boot McCarthy. And just luckily, we held the speakership. Just barely. And we had to go through 6 or 7 votes just to elect a new speaker. The problem is that we didn't choose Jim Jordan. I was hoping Jim Jordan was going to be the speaker, but nobody wanted to unite with him. And the fact that they united with Mike Johnson from Louisiana is kind of shocking. Because more and more every day, Mike Johnson's proven that he was actually weak. He's not actually as conservative as he claims. And it's really, really sad. So, this election cycle will be actually shocking. Now, as far as the last 3 states that are remaining, we have 2 governorships that I would really hope Democrats, a governorship I hope Democrats don't flip, and a governorship I hope the Republicans flip. Because as much as I want to hope for it, I kind of don't think I see Delaware going red anytime soon. I mean, you got two decent gubernatorial candidates in Mike Ramone and crap, I can't even remember the other guy's name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Well, actually, hang on a second. I'm sorry, guys. I write all this stuff down. I can't believe I didn't think of that for a second. I'm sorry. I get bounced around about this all the times, guys. So, let's see here. I got it written down here somewhere, guys, so just be patient with me. Otherwise, I don't think I probably didn't write it down for all I know. Yeah, I don't think I did. Ah, crap. I didn't. But yeah, I know one of the gubernatorial candidates in Delaware I endorsed was a state representative, Mike Ramone. And I actually think he might actually have a shot at flipping. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's up to the people of Delaware. And there's also a former NYPD detective. I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. And then in New Hampshire, I'm hoping the Democrats don't flip that with Joyce Craig, because she is a far-left radical, and she would be just as bad as Maura Healey in Massachusetts. And the Republican primary, that's looking quite iffy, because you got former Senator Kelly Ayotte against former acting Governor Chuck Morris. And Kelly Ayotte has been kind of coddling to the left on the issue of abortion. And that's kind of sad. I am saddened to see that woman fall and think it's better to coddle the people instead of standing up for what's right. Whereas Chuck Morris has actually been solid on the issues. I've endorsed him, and a lot of people said that was a good choice to endorse him. And I told people, including one of my fellow Republicans who is a New Hampshire citizen, I told him that I was actually saddened that Ayotte fell that far, that she is now coddling to the left instead of supporting the issues that matter to the American people and standing up for what's right. And me and him both agreed that endorsing Chuck Morris was a better idea. Me and him are both endorsers of candidates on Twitter. We both talk about endorsing candidates, standing with them. And then in 25, we got two gubernatorial elections in 25. Every 4 years, there is a gubernatorial election in the odd years. 21, 25, 29, 33, I think. Yeah, 33. These election cycles will be Virginia and New Jersey. New Jersey, we actually got two decent candidates this coming election cycle. We got Ed Durr and Bill Spadea, who I've co-endorsed. But here's the catch. Phil Murphy is term limited. He is a two-term governor. And this election cycle looks like the Democrats could have quite a few good candidates, radical candidates that could try to replace him. And then Virginia, you got Youngkin, who is term limited because he can't run for consecutive terms, but he can run for non-consecutive. So in 29, we could see Youngkin run again for governor. Do I think it's possible? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. And as far as that election, gubernatorial election, I don't see anybody yet declaring for that governor's race on the GOP side. Democrat side, Abigail Spanberger has already declared she is running for governor. I can only imagine what's going to happen if she gets the governorship. But the Republicans have the state legislature. So far, Republicans have struggled to gain the state legislature in the House of Delegates, in the state Senate, in Virginia. Republicans have come up short on one, and they were quite a few seats down in the House of Delegates. In the state Senate, they came close. But in the House of Delegates, they were quite a few seats short. It was not even close enough to dim the margin of the Democrats. So, as far as right now, they're saying potentials for the governorship primary for the GOP in Virginia is Jason Miyares and Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor. They say these two are potentials. They're potentials. They're not declared potentials. Now, the odds of one of these two being governor, if I were the Republican Party, I would go with Jason Miyares, because he's been a pretty solid attorney general, and I definitely think he would have a better shot at winning, and he would probably be a lot more solid on the issues and take the fight to Abigail Spanberger a lot easily. So, yeah, this election cycle has been crazy, and the following election cycles are going to be even crazier. But all we can do, my fellow Americans, is try to unite and rally behind the solid candidates and the true conservative candidates. And as far as the 2024 presidential election goes, to all my fellow pro-lifers out there, if you are disgraced at Trump for talking about protecting reproductive rights, which means he's going to protect abortion rights of women, then I would suggest to you vote for the constitutionalist candidate, Randall Terry. Randall Terry is solid on the issues, and he is truly pro-life. And he will actually take the fight to Kamala Harris and the Democrats on abortion. He will not come away from that on the issues. Just like he'll also take the fight to Libertarian candidate Chase Oliver, Jill Stein, the Green candidate, and all these other so-called third-party candidates across the country. So, alright guys, that's it for me today. Surprisingly, this episode went longer than my usual episodes do, but that's because other ones were just endorsement episodes. This one I actually went into details with a lot of primaries, and so I'll come back to you later on during this week, sometime during this week when I get an opportunity, and we will go further into detail for the upcoming election in November. So, thank you to all my followers and all my listeners. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, have a good upcoming week, and Red Wave 2024, let's take back this country, guys, and save America.